Stubborn lower back pain, hip stiffness, stay tuned. We got a great mobility routine that's going to loosen you up and reduce your pain in as little as 4 weeks. So let's be honest, the majority of us are going to have some type of back pain at some point in our lives. It's the second most common cause of disability as we get older, according to JAMA, and the reason is because we either sit too much nowadays, which a majority of us do, or when we're not sitting, our common activities are walking, running, or cycling to be active, which keeps our hips in a locked and fixed position. What are we talking about? We're talking about hip flexors and hamstrings are very tight and overused, okay? And we're talking about your core and your glutes are very underused. So we're going to show you a routine to increase the range of motion in your hips and give you some of that freedom back while at the same time strengthening those other areas. So stay tuned. We got the warm-up coming up, and then we're going to get right into our 5 hip mobility exercises. All right, so let's go ahead and get into our warm-up for our hip mobility routine today. We're going to show you 4 exercises. Each exercise is done for 1 minute. If you're feeling extra stiff that day, maybe go for 90 seconds or even 2 minutes on these. It's totally up to you. It depends on how stiff you are that day. Again, this is to prepare you for the routine coming up. So first exercise is going to be a leg swing. I recommend either holding onto a wall or, again, if you have a booyah stick or something, it just allows you to kind of keep everything in proper alignment while you're moving that lower extremity. Now, the one thing I do see a lot of times is people hyperextend that lower back. They'll try to get that leg extra far back, and they're hyperextending. Just be careful when you're doing that. Work within your own range of motion, especially if you're stiff in the hamstrings or hip flexors. So you're kind of just letting that leg hang out, working it for 1 minute. You can even swing your arm too if you're focusing just on the leg. I like to keep my toe flexed up right here, working on that dorsal flexion so I don't hit the ground when I'm swinging. And as you loosen up, you'll notice you're getting a little bit more range of motion, okay? You can also do it laterally, again, if you want to lean against the wall, right? If you're some of our older audiences and don't have much balance, and you're afraid of falling over, you can kind of lean against the wall like this and swing back and forth this way, right? Or, again, use the wall or the booyah stick, and then you're swinging across. Again, opening up those hips. Good. And again, remember, you want to do those each side, 1 minute each. All right, so our second warm-up exercise is the hip car movement. You see this all over the internet. We're just going to go through it step by step. So again, this is a great exercise. It's called hip car. The acronym is controlled articular rotation. You're moving that hip through the full range of motion. Now, I definitely recommend either using the booyah stick or the wall because you want to have some type of spinal integrity when you're doing this, meaning you don't want to have your spine move too much. You want it all in the hip. So if you're kind of leaning all over the place because you're trying to worry about balancing when you're doing this, it's not going to work. We're not going to get our benefit of doing this exercise. So let's go through all the cues. All right, you're going to start with either holding onto the wall or a booyah stick, okay, or some type of broom. Remember, you want to have spinal integrity doing this, meaning you don't want to have that spine move while you're doing this. You do it all on the hips. If you find you're tight at any of these movements, work on it throughout the week, and you'll start to loosen up, but don't push it, okay, because then you're going to throw your balance off, or you'll throw your form off too. So, sitting up nice and straight, core tight, we're going to raise that knee up as high as we can. Flexing this toe the entire movement, we're going to externally rotate, okay? We call this either the Captain Morgan or just external rotation. So get that as far as you can. Take this knee, and then you're going to internally rotate it. You might feel some tightness up top here. Remember, don't push through it. Just stop right there. That's your range of motion for the day, okay? Then you're going to bring it back just a little bit, okay? Bring that leg back, bring it in, and then bring it down. Reverse that movement. Up, okay, in, and then that external rotation right there, dropping that foot and that heel down, okay, keeping that toe flexed. Back into that Captain Morgan stance, bring the knee in, and then down. We'll show you that one more time. We're going to bring it up, toe flex. Remember, you're not leaning too far. Try to stay as upright as possible. We're going to bring that leg out, external rotation. Once you get to that point where you can't go anymore, internal rotation, rotating that knee. Then take that heel, push back just a little bit, Bring it back in and down. Then you reverse it, okay? Once you get to this point, okay, get that internal rotation, and then you focus on opening up that hip, dropping that heel down, and then bring it in and bring it down, okay? Do that for 1 minute each side. And now we're going to go ahead and get into our third warm-up exercise. All right, so the third warm-up exercise is going to be a walking butt kicker with a quad stretch. I like doing this because it's the dynamic way to loosen up your quads and the top part of those insertions into your hip. All right, so as you're walking, I like to do an odd number, 2, 3, because then you can switch legs. So as you're holding this, you're posturing up nice and tall. If you lean too far forward, you're not going to get that full stretch. Okay, and then you go 1, 2, 3, and then you're stretching on that other side. Okay, and it does require some balance. So if you find yourself losing balance during these, 1, 2, 3, if you find yourself losing balance, then you can use a booyah stick. Okay, so again, I'm going 1, 2, 3, and then obviously you're going to have the booyah stick on the other side, but you're only going to be able to do one side at a time, all right, because you're using this for balance. So, I mean, you could switch it up, so you're going 1, 2, 3, you're using the booyah stick to help you posture up nice and tall, right? Or you can do it against the wall, either end. So 1, 2, 3, stretch, and then you go to the other side, 1, 2, 3. And that wall is just there to hurry things along. Sometimes I do that if I'm in a hurry and I want to warm up fast. Okay, so let's go ahead and go into our last warm-up exercise right now. All right, so our last warm-up exercise is a hip 90-90 rotation, or I call it a hip 90-90 swing. You see this a lot, this position. All right, so we're getting in a 90-90 right here. So this leg's 90-degree bent, this leg's 90-degree bent. You're going to want to have that inclination to want to lean to one arm. That's fine. You can have that arm, but you want to posture up as high as possible. And then you're going to rotate both legs, keeping your heels in the ground. All right, so I'll show you from this angle. I'll show you from a couple different angles. So again, 90 degrees bend. We're on the ground. We're going to rotate that way with the body. Okay, so as I rotate, I'm bringing the knee to the other side. All right, so I'm going to show you from this angle so you get a better look. All right, so 90-90, I'm going to swing. Sometimes you'll see people swing the opposite direction as they're doing it, and it does require some core. So you're swinging the opposite direction as the knees are rotating this way. So as the knees are rotating, I'm swinging my arms this direction. And then I end in a 90-90 position on the other side, okay? And so as my knees are rotating the other way, I'm using my arms and rotating this way. So from a front view, if you look at it like this, I'm moving my knees like this. 1, 2. It's all in the hips. 1, 2. Now, if you don't have the core strength or flexibility to do this right away, watch how I use my hands, okay? Place my hands here, and as I rotate to the other side, I place my hands down and down, okay? So you're finishing in this position here, both sides, all right? And so as I rotate my hips, knees, make sure your heels stay planted, right? And then down here. So again, hand places here. You can switch, come to the other side, all right? If you don't need your hands, you can just rotate like this. 1, 2. You're gonna hear maybe some clicking and popping and some loosening up in those joints. That's probably what we're looking for there. If it's too painful, then obviously skip this exercise, go through the other 3 warm-ups. So now that you're warmed up, ready to go, we're gonna get into our 5 hip mobility routine exercises right now. All right, now that we've warmed up those lovely hips of yours, let's get right into the hip mobility routine. Let's break down the details. We got 5 exercises, 1 minute apiece for each exercise for our beginners out there, and a 30-second rest in between. For more advanced people, and people that have done these routines before, we're looking at 60 to 90 seconds or even 2 minutes per exercise, and we're gonna be doing this routine 2 to 3 times all the way through. Our beginners, we're gonna stick with 1 round all the way through. Now, as you progress throughout the weeks, again, you wanna do this routine for 4 weeks. All right, and as you progress, you can increase your rounds or increase your durations of doing these exercises. But do it for 4 weeks, 4 times a week, and you will see a significant improvement in your hip mobility. And you can always come back to this exercise in the future if you feel like you're developing any stiffness in those hips. All right, let's get right into it. We got the first exercise. What we're going to need is an ankle band. All right, we're also going to need a gym mat. Now, the ankle band can be a medium to heavy resistance depending on your experience level. You want to put that band right above your knee. All right. Some people say on the knee. I like above the knee. It's a little more comfortable. And what we're going to be doing is we're trying to fire those glute medius muscles right here. All right. So as I squat, I want to feel that tension right up here. If you don't feel the tension, then you're probably not having enough resistance in this band right here. All right, so definitely get a heavier resistance band. That's kind of one of the reasons we use this band is it's going to want to have a tendency to pull your knees in, so you're resisting keeping your knees out, which is tightening those muscles up. All right, keep that core nice and tight. Squat down. Fire up those glute medius muscles. Fire up those outside leg muscles, those abductors. All right, and even fire the inside muscles and your groin and keeping your core tight. Never go too far forward like this on that squat. So sitting up nice and tall, we're going to squat again, fire those muscles. I usually do a 2-second pause and come back up. Squatting, coming back up. Those toes are going to want to migrate out, keep them straight. Remember, you're doing this for 1 minute. Now, if you have knee issues, you can put a chair behind you, all right? You can sit on that chair and stand up. That way you're protecting your knees a little bit and still firing those glutes. All right, so 1 minute on that exercise. All right, so let's get into the second exercise. It's gonna be a Cossack squat. I love this exercise because it really helps stretch out your hips at the same time strengthening your glutes, all right? And also stretching out your adductors too. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna pivot to one side, and depending on your range of motion and how stiff you are in your hips, and I'm pretty stiff myself, is that's gonna determine how low you get. Okay, so as you can see, as I'm coming down, I'm externally rotating this hip and this toe is pointed up, okay? And then I want to try to face as forward as I can and sit back on this hip, okay? And sometimes when I'm warming up, I'm just kind of sitting in there and kind of doing a little pulse just to kind of lean. You do want to make sure your knee doesn't go too far forward over your toes. You want to be sitting back, okay? So your knee should be right about your 3rd or 4th toe. So we're sitting back, we're turning this toe up, and then we're going to shift to the other side, okay? Same thing. All right, so this knee's right about here, toe relatively straight. Sit back on that hip and feel that stretch in the inside thigh on this leg with the toe up, and feel everything strengthening here. So in real time, you're gonna get a nice wide stance after you're nice and warmed up on this, and just go side to side, sitting low, okay? And you just do this, again, if you're a beginner, 30 to 60 seconds. If you're trying to really loosen up those hips up, and if you're really stiff, take your time, maybe go 60 to 90 seconds. Let's go ahead and get into our third exercise, which is going to be a reverse lunge with rotation. The reason I like doing a reverse lunge is it's less stress on the knee, but it still fires up those glutes and fires up those hips. Gives us a nice dynamic stretch and flexion in our knees and our hips and our ankles as well. So as I step back, whatever leg I step back with and that whatever leg's in front, that's the side I'm going to rotate towards. All right, I'll step forward, I'll go back with the other side, lunging down, arms are out, rotate towards that front leg. Now, from a front view, you can see that when I lunge back and rotate, my knee's going to want to go out with me. Try not to let that knee migrate out. All right, keep it nice and straight in proper alignment. As you rotate, think of your upper body separating from your lower body. Okay, in that rotation, I mean. So you go forward, alternate your feet, and rotate. Remember to keep that core tight, keep that spine neutral, 1 minute on that exercise. Let's go ahead and get into the fourth exercise, which is a little bit of an addition of the last one. It's a reverse lunge with a single leg touchdown reach, all right? So what I'm doing, I'm going back to that reverse lunge where I step back. Now, normally when we move, that leg that comes back, our other arm should be coming forward like this. Proper body mechanics. So what we're gonna be doing is we're gonna be adding that reach So I'm reaching forward. I don't have to touch the ground. I'm reaching forward like this. And then all I'm doing is transitioning to that one foot and leaning forward for that single leg touchdown. You can touch the floor, you can touch a chair or a stool, and then come back up. All right? So the full motion is going into a reverse lunge, reaching forward. All right? Making sure that knee's in proper alignment. I'm not pushing off this back leg, okay? I'm using this front leg, and I'm gonna come up like this into that single leg stance, and I'm gonna lean forward, which is firing my hamstring, my glute, all my outer hip muscles, and my inner groin, and I'm gonna touch down and stand up, balancing. Then this leg goes right back into that reverse lunge. You're gonna feel the arch of your standing leg just burning, which is fantastic. It's increasing your proprioception. At the same time, we're working on that hip mobility, okay? We're moving our hips back, okay? Getting that nice dynamic stretch right there in our hip flexors, all right? Then as we come in that reach, as I'm down here, as we come up, all right, we're extending that knee. You don't wanna lock it. And then you're gonna come down and stand up. All right, so we'll show you from this angle once. We're gonna lunge back with the reach, okay? We're gonna transition up into that extended stance, lean forward to a touch. Remember, if you can't come down that far, you can touch here, and then bring it up. If you wanna do it with the booyah stick, okay, it would look like this. You're gonna lunge back with the reach, okay? You're gonna stand up, so lunging back, standing up, and then use that booyah stick to help you balance, and then stand up. Remember, the important cues are keeping your core tight and keeping your hips square when you're doing this. I'll show you one more time from a front view. You're gonna go back lunge to a reach. As you transition to that single leg, you're gonna come down to touch and stand back up. This is a fantastic exercise to work your stability and your balance, to work your core, and to work all those important stabilizer muscles around the hips and lower back. All right, let's go ahead and get into our last exercise, which is gonna be a butterfly bridge. All right, so this last exercise, we're gonna be on the ground, and a normal bridge, which is what most people out there should know, is when we're laying back and bridging our butt up nice and high, squeezing those glutes. A lot of times when I see people doing bridges, they feel it too much in the hamstrings because they're not thinking of the bridge going this way, they're thinking of the bridge going this way. So you're really trying to drive this way, squeezing those glutes. Now, the butterfly bridge, which we're gonna put our soles of our feet together, so we'll be on the outsides of our feet when we're doing these bridges, is again gonna hit those outer glute muscles. Right? So my hands are down on the ground. I'm gonna bridge up as high as I can, pushing these hips forward towards the sky, squeezing those outside glute muscles, those glute medius, glute minimus. And if you squeeze hard enough, you can even get the maximus, which is always important. And then coming back down, but don't let that butt rest, okay? So driving up nice and high, get this nice good stretch in here, and a nice good contraction on those glutes. And repeat this for 1 minute. All right, there you go. There's our 5 hip mobility exercises that are guaranteed to see some improvement in your range of motion in those pesky, stiff hips. If you do them 3 to 4 times a week for the next 4 weeks, you're gonna see a significant improvement in that whole area, guys. So good luck with that. Try it out. Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you have any other areas in the body or joints that you wanna see some mobility routines in, let me know as well. And don't forget, like and subscribe. It really helps out our channel. And remember, be safe, be active, be healthy, and we'll see you in the next video.